people will ask if they can pray for you. Like, oh, I'm sorry you're in this situation. Can I pray for you? And
people come up to me and put their hand on my head going, God's with you, kind of thing. And I'm sort of looking at them with the wide eyes going, okay.
So Peter, welcome to Disabled and Proud. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving up some time at your day to be on. I'm looking forward to this chat. I feel like I'm going to learn lots of different things, which is great.
I'm looking forward to it.
So the first question that I ask absolutely anybody and everybody who's been on this podcast is, how do you refer to your disability?
So I refer it as cerebral palsy.
Mm-hmm.
I was born 3 months premature.
Mm-hmm.
I was like to say that I blame my parents actually for that, but I can't actually blame them for that. I am also hearing to profound hearing loss as well. So double trouble. And so that was a very interesting childhood. But yeah, it's just been a part of me, so I don't really see it as anything different.
Yeah, and it's actually so interesting that you said that about childhood, because I always think disabled children, particularly like in childhood, you have a very different childhood. And I was wondering, what was that like for you in terms of your educational experience, in terms of like making friends, all those kind of things that we do when we're really little? What was that experience like for you?
Well, I would say that I was very lucky in terms of that. So I remember very, very, very well, considering I'm 26 and I'm starting to get a bit old now. But actually, in my early years, I do remember going to I'm not sure whether it is still around now, but it used to be the Queen Elizabeth Foundation or something like that. Like early years, kind of preschool for disabled children. And I remember being in there, and it was all disabled, like learning difficulties and all that kind of thing. So I remember doing that for about a year or two, and then I was quite lucky in the attachment area that I'm based in West Sussex. So I was able to go to schools and early years. But the funny thing was that because my first disability is hearing impairment rather than my physical disability, I was put in reception year 1, year 2 in a deaf unit.
Okay.
That used to be called Elm Vale. And there was a school next door to Elm Vale that was Connaught, and they had a deaf unit as well. But now, since I've gone, they've now come together as one big school called River Beach. So I would prefer it to River Beach now. But in those early years, it was very much the deaf part of me being the focal point. And the funny thing is with having the deafness was that, as you can tell, I speak quite clearly and I speak quite well. Not many deaf people get to do that.
Yeah.
So some of my deaf friends they can sort of whisper and sign, British Sign Language. And some can talk and sign, some of them choose not to sign but talk, and there are so many different variations of that. And as you could tell from the last 5 minutes, I could talk for England. So but looking back now, I was very, very lucky, and no one ever treated me any different, especially in the wheelchair as well. Being an electric wheelchair, but there was a few times I was on a manual, and that was quite an interesting few days.
Yeah.
That was when it came to being in a manual chair, being pushed around for a whole day. But yeah, very lucky to sort of be focusing on my hearing impairment, and I don't. Actually, I don't think it would have mattered if it was being put in a disabled school. I've no idea,
Yeah.
but I was very lucky with the area that I'm in and to have those experiences.
Yeah, and it is such a postcode lottery. Like depending on where you live, it kind of depends on what services are available to you, and it's not the same countrywide, which in and of itself is a problem that the UK faces, and that's a whole other conversation for a different point in
It
time.
is.
Um,
Yeah,
but I was wondering, so with your deafness, did you learn to sign at a young age?
I did. Um, I would actually refer it as a very vague one because my mum,
Mm-hmm.
even before I was born, she did BSL evening classes
Mm-hmm.
just as an interest.
Yeah.
And it was just so, like just like I say, a postcard lottery that I'm deaf and she was able to still attend those. I remember it being on a Thursday night, she was going to some sign language classes and then come back and teach me those signs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and that was, and apparently my first language is BSL,
Mm-hmm.
not not English. So I do find that a bit quite interesting because I don't sign now.
Yeah.
I've forgotten most of the sign language, if I'm honest with you, at the moment. But back then, it was pretty much a good experience. But of course, being in the wheelchair, obviously, I'll be driving around the place and I would have to stop and sign, and I just found
Yeah.
that too much. This is all just a faff. So I just end up talk. I've always been able to talk anyway, but I remember just talking a lot and then remembering my deaf friends probably can understand everything, so I had to sign sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember talking all the time and not not really wanting to sign at all. Um, and 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 then I used to have what was called, well, it's probably still called it now, but speech and language therapy.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I remember having that at mostly primary school,
Mm-hmm.
but by the time I joined secondary school, it wasn't really needed because I
Yeah.
already had that sort of development already.
Mm-hmm.
It was mainly um, in primary school that happened. And I remember being a little room with the speech and language therapist for an hour session, and I think I, I remember it always being fun, yeah, because obviously as a kid you've got to
Yeah.
entertain yourself and with those sessions always cool. But I would probably say that I'm not to sort of blow my own horn, but I was probably on a more developed side compared to my other deaf peers in the unit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that was just, I think my progression has already grown, and I do feel a bit sad for the other ones that actually that they couldn't probably speak. Well, it's everyone's choices in life what they do, but some of them I felt a bit bad for because because at one point I was halfway through primary school that I was. It used to be wires going up into my hearing aids, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll be attached to some sort of microphone thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the teacher would always have to wear a microphone thing so I could hear the teacher better than the students because it'll be blocking a background noise.
Mm-hmm.
So the teacher would just, I would hear the teacher more. And halfway through primary school, I got they changed the equipment for me. So I was put on those sort of wireless ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember with the fact at Langton, she was in the same class as me all throughout school and primary school as well. And she 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 wanted those wireless ones as well. But because of the level of her hearing, it was better suited back then, I suppose, that she was kept wearing this wire ones and being strapped in her belly, and I'm looking back on it quite funny at the moment, but back then it was certainly a shock to see where I was among the others. But I was again very lucky with the choices that I had and was given to me, and to make me the person I am today.
Yeah. And what I like about that is that you're aware to be able to be like, I was in this situation and I was very lucky because, like, as we've already said, like postcode lottery plays a really big part, particularly when we're talking about disabled children and the access to the things that they can have. And I think there's so much to be said in appreciating that and being like, you know what, I was just really lucky and it just happened to be right place, right time. But I was
Yeah.
wondering, with your education and being disabled, did being a disabled man impact your career choices and the path that you went down?
So I was a bit disappointed with the exam system. I mean, I don't mind being in a separate room because obviously, I don't know about you, but I used to have like 20% extra time or something, and with an assistant next to you in
Yeah.
the room, and then having to and but I didn't mind that. But it would have been nice to have been in the hall with the others.
I've
Um,
been in the hall
yeah.
with the others and it was awful. Like,
Oh, was it?
I used to have to do it all in like a big hall, and then I got removed and got put in like my own little room to myself because they were like, you can't concentrate in this environment, it's not going to work for you. And I remember the relief because I would get so distracted by all the other people, like someone tapping their pen, or like someone chewing some gum, or like someone fiddling with their pencil, someone tapping their feet. And I would literally be like a little bird being like, oh my God, like, where do I look? What do I do? And like bearing in mind that there is like an exam paper in front of me that I needed to finish, I would be like, oh, I can't do this.
To be fair, I get distracted really easily myself as well. So
Yeah.
I'll probably would have kept as well. But no, but I didn't mind being in a separate room and all that. It just meant that because of the deafness I've got, I think because being in a separate room, meaning there was a little bit more peace and quiet,
Yeah.
and I don't really. I think it was just because the yeah, I don't quite understand why it was like that, but that's just the way it was. And it was nice to be able to get someone to read the questions. Not that I needed it, but I just thought, you're here, you might as well read the questions for me, and I'll just, sort of do that. Because otherwise, what would be the point of having someone stare at you for 2 hours doing an exam paper?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I did find that a bit odd at the beginning, but I got used to it after a while. And it would always be in the deaf unit classroom. So that in secondary school. So that was okay. It was just the
Yeah.
norm. But moving on from that, since I remember doing SATs in year seven and do like a base that was in a classroom with all the others, it was like easy to do sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that was a bit different. But everything, and then when I went on to college and university, it was all together because it was all based on coursework, no essays, assignments, no exams. So that was probably the easy route, not doing exams and just doing coursework. But that's the way I like things. No exams, just coursework.
Yeah. And did your disability impact where your choices of where you went to uni or like the course that you did?
So it did very much impact that in terms of when I got to secondary school back in 2009. I was introduced to a sport called Boccia.
Yeah.
Didn't know what it was, didn't know anything about it. And it was at that point on, I became a Boccia athlete. I competed nationally, and I was actually on the Paralympic pathway during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Up until a point where I got reclassified into a different classification that wasn't on the Paralympic pathway. But back then, I enjoyed it so much that I got into wanting to be a sports coach
Yeah.
quite early on, and that was my route, that was my path. And so I did sports coaching, leaders award stuff during my time there, and GCSEs were. I wanted it to be PE based, but obviously maths, science, English, that was never going to be just the opportunity to do that. PE was part of it, but again, that wasn't a proper GCSE
Yeah.
thing because at Ainwyn, when I went to secondary school, PE was where we got taken out of and sort of been put in the uh, disabled units sports classes. Boccia, US curling, table
Yeah.
cricket, table tennis, all those sort of things. But Boccia was the main one that the school did. So I got into that. I went into the sports coach, I did sport degrees at A level, and so I did all that. And but the main point where everything changed was after Ainwyn, I did sit form and everything, and I went on to Toulouse College. I don't know if you know Toulouse at
No.
all. It's a disabled school and college, a residential school
Okay.
and college, from early years of school up until sixth form kind of thing. And I was only there for 2 years. I was part of a school the college set up, and I did that for 2 years. But I wasn't at Toulouse to as a college, so I was residential there during the week, and I went to a college nearby, Alton College, to do sport diploma and EPQ, which I hated, but again, that's a different topic. And then at Toulouse, I did part time there, so I went back to Toulouse and did NVQ business and administration. So, surprise, surprise, I'm clever all of a sudden. And then, sort of coming into my second year at Alton College, they sort of wanted me to look into the future, like what's after Toulouse, what's going to happen. Are you interested in university? I went, no, not interested in uni, never, no. No idea why, but I just thought, no, that's it. I'm going to be a sports coach. That's it for the rest of my life. And I said, just go to this open day. This sort of conversation carried on for about 3 or 4 months afterwards. Are you going to go to an open day? You think about what's going to happen. You think, and I went, okay. I mean, I just thought originally I was going to go just to shut their faces, because they kept
Yeah.
talking about it and would never drop drop it. So I went over to an open day. That open day changed my mind completely.
Oh,
I didn't know what it
really?
was. Yeah. So after that open day, after about 4 months of them complaining to me about what I'm going to do, I went back to them and said, I'm going. They're like, what? So, yeah, that was definitely an eye opener. Solent at Southampton was the only university they would recommend. I think it's because they get on quite well. So the transition team at Toulouse got on well with their students support student support team because they've had other Toulouse students go there
Yeah.
in the past. So they've got on quite well, and now we're in January. So last August, I finished university after 5 years, and and I was definitely saying that uni's been definitely an interesting time because I went in 2018. Did I went there originally for the sport and all that stuff, so I did sports coaching and sports development. So I did a foundation year and then 3 years.
Yeah.
and then COVID happened halfway through my first year. So the next 2 years I thought was quite interesting online and not doing any practical sport sessions, which was a bit of a disappointment because I'm very much a social person,
Yeah.
as you could probably tell already. And then after my 4 years, I sort of thought, oh my god, because this was 2021, I was trying to think about what we're going to do after 2022, and COVID was still around at that point. So I thought, I'm not, because my plan was going to be travelling after uni, but of course with the restriction in other countries not being open, I couldn't then travel like I wanted to. So I made the decision to stay for next year and do a master's, which I thought would never happen to me at all. So again, I'm definitely underestimating myself, aren't I?
For
And
sure.
so, and so because the grade I got from my undergrad was a 2-2, and my next coaching one was a 2-1, I thought, I'm not even going to bother applying. I don't think I'll get it because it was a one grade level that I needed. So I looked at other sport related courses and I looked at sports broadcast journalism.
Yeah.
And that was so something completely different. But I thought at the time it would open up my chances of getting a job because, as we both know, being disabled and getting a job doesn't go exactly hand to hand
Very,
sometimes
very
these
true.
days. So yeah, they don't marry each other quite as well. So I thought it would open up my chances. So that was the main reason. But I really, very much enjoyed it. Again, it was just like being back at primary school. Everyone treated me with such, it was a very nice year. Everyone treated me exactly the same as everyone else, which was a lovely surprise. And because we all came from all over the world, there was a few from India, one from Jersey, so it was a very nice mix of people, and I very much enjoyed it. And I managed to get myself out and about more than I expected because I went over to Weymouth for a sailing. I went all over the place for doing like filming and editing and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing that at the moment. I'm still going around places and doing that. So that's very much improved my independence. And yeah, let's see what the future holds.
Yeah. So you mentioned Boccia, and that's the right way to pronounce it, isn't it?
Boccia, yes,
Yeah.
well done. A lot of people say it wrong, and I'm like, no, it's Boccia. Well done.
And for all of those who don't know what it is, do you want to just give us like a quick little rundown of what it is? And like, I know it's a sport and I know it's a disabled sport, but after that, I know not so much.
No, but a lot of us in the Botswana community say, why do people still go, what is Boccia? Google's right on your fingertips.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, but so Boccia's only one of two Paralympic sports do not have a Olympic equivalent actually. So it's quite a unique sport. It's very similar to bowls. So you have six red, six blue, and a jack ball, which is the white ball. Just for detail. And the objective of the game is to get your ball closer to the white ball as you can. That's basically it. It sounds easy, but it's not. It's very technical. You've got to really think. Which I normally do say is quite a challenge for me, but telling you what I've done in the last few years, it's pretty much not a surprise. So it's just getting the ball close. It's very technical. You've got to think about what you've got to do, what the opponent could do, and then what you've got to do after that. It's very much looking forward, and I would say hindsight's wonderful, but in a sport like that, you can't really do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very much a challenge, but it's a sport that I love.
And with boccia, is it like you can be in mixed teams or is it single sex teams? And when you're playing, is there like a regional level and a national level, or is it just like the UK that plays it? Tell me a bit more about it.
Okay, so there's four classifications worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So every country does it. So you've got BC 1 to 4. So one is any disability that can't have their balls on their person, so they have an assistant hand them the ball.
Mm-hmm.
BC2 is what used to be just cerebral palsy, but it's now open to a much wider of disabilities.
Yeah.
So you've got more of a grasp and you can have the balls on your person, on your lap or on a gutter or something, so you can get the balls yourself.
Mm-hmm.
BC3 is for rampers, so if you can't throw, you'll be using the ramp
Mm-hmm.
to do the balls. And BC4 is for any other, it's basically a BC2, but for more range and diverse disabilities like spinal cord, muscular dystrophy, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And then you've got the BC5 to 8, which I used to think actually only the UK does those. But I've since realised that there are BC5s around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So England, so the UK is actually the only one, as far as I'm aware, at time of recording actually, I should say, that the 5 is for a stronger BC2, which is what I am now. I was a 2, I'm
Mm-hmm.
now a 5. So it's a stronger version of the 2. A BC6 is for a much stronger 5, and then you've got the 7s, which is visually impaired, and then 8 is Down syndrome and or the other like autistic and everything else. And you do individual, so you can play on their own, and then you've got team impaired competitions
Mm-hmm.
that happens all around the world and all of that. So you do the so individual, you can do national. I mean internationally, you can play England, and then you've got. You sometimes have regional opens, so sometimes you go to Scotland,
Mm-hmm.
Wales, Northern Ireland for any of those. Um, um, and then teams and pairs, you can do team and pair competitions. It used to be just people in your own classification, but in some competitions you can be paired up with so it'd be like BC1, BC2 group, and then you've got BC3 on their own, and then you've got BC4, BC5 type
Mm-hmm.
groups. And you can also play as a club. So I've got a club set up called Student Boccia that I started at Solent
Mm-hmm.
at my time at uni. And we play as a, when you're playing as a team in the league, it doesn't matter what classification you can play.
Uh-huh.
So that opens it up a bit more. And so we've done that, and we played in the National League. Won that in our first season. We're now in the Super League, which is like Premier League type
Yeah.
thing, if you want to put it in those terms. And last year I went to Germany for like it was a Boccia Open International Open for 1 to 5,
Mm-hmm.
BC 1 to 5, and I won that gold.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've actually got a trophy here. Let me just. It's quite big and chunky, so.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
amazing. It's
thank you.
amazing that it's such an inclusive sport as well. And I really like what you said about the
Yes.
teams is that it doesn't matter like what category or what level you're at, you can play. Whereas so many sports, including Paralympic sports, don't have that because as we all know, it's all done on classification. Classification changes all the time, causing many different people,
Yeah.
many different problems. But this seems to be the one sport that really nails it on the head in terms of its accessibility and the fact that everybody can play.
Yeah, it does. It's very inclusive, and you know, it doesn't really matter what disability you've got probably pretty much fit yourself in Boccia.
Yeah.
And it's very much very much just like what you said with others. You've got certain classifications. If you fit in, you fit in. If you don't, you're turfed out almost.
Yeah.
So you're exactly right. You've really much nailed the head there. And I'm now a Paralympic journalist for a radio station. So, you know, so these are, but again, you've hit on my head there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you very much took the words out. Very much took the words out of my mouth there, actually. But yeah.
I mean, the Paralympics are great for what they do, but I think there are so many people that really miss out because of classification problems and issues, and they're consistently changing, and so many people want so many different things out of it that actually, when it comes down to what it is that nobody is ever going to be in full agreement, and it's never going to be unified. And I think, and it's a really horrible thing to have to say, but at some point everybody just has to realize that that's exactly what it is, and there's never going to be a solution for it. It's just the goalposts are always going to change.
Yes. And yeah, that's something that I resonate with very closely because I mentioned I was reclassified.
Yeah.
So the Boccia classification rules, BISPED, which is the World Boccia Organisation, they changed the rules back in 2018, and I wasn't looked at until 2021.
Yeah.
So yeah, I spent 3 or 4 years thinking, okay, BC2, I'm in the Paralympic pathway, and then at 21, nope, you're BC5. Took me completely under the rug, and I was no longer part of the Paralympic pathway for Paris, LA, Brisbane, and I was very, understandably, very disappointed. But you know, everything in life happens for a reason. I guess you know. Took me a while to rethink what am I gonna do, and that probably took me down the journalist path. So
Yeah.
I was thinking, if I can't be an athlete in the Paralympic Games, what's next? I can be a coach, which I was doing, a coaching degree, or I can be a journalist.
Yeah.
And you know, so I've got again more choices there now compared to before. But I did say, why did most people get classified back in 2018 when the rules changed, and why did they leave some people till like 21? Because there was a couple of other people that were reclassified at the same time as me. So it wasn't. I'm completely on my own. We were all in the same boat, me and a couple of other athletes at the time. But I think when the classification rules changing and it's built, reclassify everyone as soon as you can,
Yeah.
run that chain, rather than letting people have false hope almost and thinking they'll get somewhere when they don't. And of course, back in 21, it was 3 years before Paris.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's very true. And after all of that experience, particularly with like recategorization and like growing up as a disabled child, is there a piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Don't get your hopes up. That'll probably be the quickest way of saying, yeah, that will be very much the first piece of advice. Don't get your hopes up, because I've done that many a time and been left disappointed. But no, I think it would be just take your time, because I would be rushing into things head first without thinking. And I still do to this day. I've got no filter, Brooke. So I'll just come up with it and deal with the consequences later.
Sounds just like me. I can appreciate that so much.
Yeah. Why is it taking us this long to make a book?
I know. Why has it? I love it when this happens.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, so I just come out with it, but because that's what gets me in trouble with my family. One side of my family is like take things very seriously and doesn't tend to see the joke side.
Yeah.
So I can sometimes rock the boat, should I say, with that side. But again, no, but I love it, because then it just sort of gives me a bit of thrill in life to see what faces they pull when I say something. They go, shouldn't have said that. Oops. But no, but yeah, but definitely take your time and don't rush into things. It'll be probably the advice I'll give. But again, that's the same for my wheelchair. I still do to this day go really fast in my wheelchair and run a few people's feet over. Because back at school times, I honestly was in around the corridor like Lewis Hamilton on Formula One. And so I thought there would always be someone around the corner and they'll get the fright of their life.
Yeah.
So I've been told to slow down on many occasions, and I've once got into detention for it at one point.
I love that.
But there you go. But yeah, slow down. Slow down.
I actually think that that's a really good piece of advice just in general for anyone, because I think a lot of people do tend to dive headfirst into decisions, which if that's who you are, that's who you are. Like, I'm very much someone who also dives a bit headfirst into decisions and deals with the consequences later. But actually, not even slowing down, but like pausing for a second just to take it all in and reassessing and like almost giving yourself a little bit of an evaluation would be so beneficial. Like, 19-year-old me could have done with that advice, but 19-year-old me didn't take that on board. So actually, whilst I love it as a piece of advice, would I have taken it? Probably not.
Yeah, I'm very much the same, because I tend to tell everyone that I've got selective hearing. So I tend to sort of I tend to just block everyone's advice out.
Yeah.
So I probably wouldn't have took my own advice in the first place anyway.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something in general. And but going in head first, I mean, if you're a diver, you probably can't go in head first and anything else. But
very true.
There you go.
So I like to think that through like any form of hardship or struggle or something that we found difficult, if you can look back and pull out a positive trait about yourself, then you've learned something. And I was wondering, what is a particular positive trait that you've noticed that you have?
Okay, so definitely my positivity, if I pronounce that correctly, because so when I was a teenager at school, my mum had a nervous breakdown, and so that was a bit of a she was at my nan's place for quite a while, 4 or 5 months. I can't really remember. It was that long ago. But so I tended to just sort of thinking she'll be back soon. She'll be all right. And also when it came to the pandemic, the lockdown, I was very much thinking, oh, this is a sort of mini holiday. I've got no work to do. Lovely. But in reality, the uni said, you're still doing your work, just at home. I'm like, damn.
This is not what I signed up for.
Yes, exactly. This is what I signed up for. A lovely hot summer doing nothing. That's what I was hoping. But no, unfortunately not. But still, in those sort of dark times, people were struggling, and I could very much see that for myself through a Zoom camera, through the blurry Zoom calls we used to have, with the Wi-Fi sort of dropping out every now and then, and so and I was able to sort of lift people's vibes up, because even one of my lecturers, they had a bit of a tough time as well. They said that your smiling face every time they come on a Zoom call or a Teams call, and sort of like, oh, how are you? They were surprised that I was actually quite chipper. And I was like, yeah, it's a holiday. It's a hot, lovely holiday. That's what I'm going to call it. And I'm not doing it. So, yeah, those kind of things were lovely. And exactly a year ago on Union's Day, one of my childhood school deaf friends, she committed suicide on New Year's Day.
Oh.
last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, that was a very tough time. But and you know, those sort of situations where you think you can help others, but now looking back, just sort of saying, are you really okay? Just sort of asking that question again.
Mm-hmm.
After a lot of people say, yeah, I'm fine, yeah, putting on a smiley face, and actually inside they're not, and just having that sort of conversation, especially at the time now when mental health is a lot more open and a lot more discussable
Mm-hmm.
compared to maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, those sort of things I I do now, sort of like getting into sort of deeper conversations with people and sort of saying that, you know, I'm here for you, and, you know, I still do try and make light of it. And again, that's the filter in me again, just sort of getting myself into a bit of a clutch situation and being a little bit awkward sometimes. But again, but they knew that's what I'm like. So
Yeah.
it kind of helps with that one. But yeah, but very much, yeah, just sort of taking the time with people. So, yeah.
I think it's firstly, thank you for sharing that information because it's never easy to talk about suicide, regardless of whether it's friend, family member,
Yeah,
however it touches you. It's never an easy topic. So thank you for sharing that. And I think what you said is really interesting as well, is about doubling the question of are you okay? Because you're right, a lot of people the first time they're asked, they'll say, yeah, I'm fine, brush it off.
yeah,
And actually, if you ask the question the second time, like, are you really okay? That gives
yeah,
it gives a space for someone to actually say maybe they're not okay. But equally
yeah,
in that, I think there's a lot to be said for, you can only help someone as much as they want the help as well. And that's a quite a hard phrase to sometimes accept, particularly surrounding suicide, because I think everybody thinks that they can help way more after it's happened. But actually the likeness is that sometimes maybe you couldn't, and you should never beat yourself up for that. But being able to ask someone if they're really okay is actually something really beautiful that you've taken out of a really horrendous situation.
yeah. And I'll say that because I'm quite a good reader of body language and being very observant, so I
Mm-hmm.
can sort of almost tell now, you know, if someone's sort of looking onto the distance or just sort of putting a face or something, I can sort of tell there's something not quite right. But again, I didn't notice that back then, but now I can definitely sort of tell. And of course, during the lockdown, people had all sorts of mental health issues,
Mm-hmm.
but trying to do it by text wasn't really the way. It was definitely face to face conversations. You can definitely almost tell body language. I do remember reading about body language of a blurred video on a
Mm-hmm.
Zoom call, and just trying to get that across. But now, thankfully, we're at a time where now, with the vaccine available and the precautions, that we're able to get out and be able to treat people the right way
Yeah.
compared to before, and being able to move on from that, and yeah, be able to sort of hopefully step by step make the world right.
Yeah. I like to think about the questions that disabled people get asked. Now, that sounds really weird on the surface, but actually, when you think about how many people ask disabled people bizarre questions, the there are quite a
Yeah,
few, right? And I always like to ask, particularly disabled people, what are some of the weirdest questions someone has asked you about your disability?
yeah. So the first one that pops into my mind straight away, and I just laughed just then, was how to go toilet
Mm-hmm.
is the first question that gets asked quite regularly. Even when it's like, you know, even like um, children, they've got no filter. They
Yeah.
just say, "I to go to," I just sex, all those sort of things. And but getting to the toilet was the main one, and I just remember thinking, "Oh, how do I answer that?" I just sort of say, I sort of transfer and sit on the toilet just like you do,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And yeah, but it's mainly the toilet one
Yeah.
I get asked. I would love to hear everyone else's answers to that one, actually. So
There are some real. I've had this conversation now with like over 90 people, and the toilet one always comes up, the sex one always comes up, and then quite often something that really comes up is people will ask if they can pray for you. Like, oh, I'm sorry you're in this situation. Can I pray for you? And it's like, look, whatever relationship you and your God have, that's amazing, but don't include me. Like, I'm very happy the way that I am. I don't need you to pray over my arm because it's never going to grow back, and that is what it is.
actually, you're just saying that. Actually, just really, I've not been asked that, but I've had people come up to me and put their hand on my head, going, "God's with you," kind of thing. And I'm sort of looking at them with the wide eyes, going, "Okay," because I don't believe in God in any sense of the word. I do believe there is something there, but I don't think it's God with a white beard with a massive hand that goes down from the clouds to sort of greet you. But yeah, I've had that one before, the hand on my head from various people, and so people going up to going, "God bless you," like that sort of thing, and I'm going, "Jesus Christ, it's happened again," that kind of thing. But now I do find it quite amusing, especially my nan. Bless her, she was very much a churchgoer and very much a positive person, and she, if you put your mind to it, you can. Towards the end, she was going a bit crazy towards the end. Well, not crazy, but started to forget things a little bit more. But before that, so if you can put your mind to it, you can walk again. Apparently, I used to be able to walk when I was a kid, up until about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old or something, only for a very short time. But I don't remember it at all. But apparently, I used to be able to with support bars or whatever. And if you put your mind to it, you can walk again. I'm sort of looking at them going, no. Just say yes or just say okay. Just sort of let the conversation ride out. But not me. I'll be going, no, I can't because I can't.
Yeah.
If you can't do it, yeah. But I think back and treasure those memories now. But yeah, very amusing stuff people come up with sometimes.
I only have a final question for you now.
Is it?
Well, this is my final question, and actually, it's my favorite question because I always love hearing the answer, and I think the answer really enforces like what I stand for, and that is, Peter, are you disabled and proud?
Of course, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Thank you so much for giving up your time to be on the podcast today. I have found this such an entertaining episode, and I've learned so much about Boccia that I didn't know before. So really, thank you for coming on, and thank you for having this conversation with me.
Thank you very much for having this conversation. I've really, really enjoyed coming on eventually. So, yeah, thank you very much for having me on.